It sucks to be putting so much time and effort into your workouts and just seeing nothing in return. And this clip from Cam's podcast just highlights the importance of what you should be doing outside the gym. And if you do focus on certain things before you even think about working out, you'll get way better results. So if you do get something out of this episode, make sure you go back and listen to the full conversation I had with Cam. But if you are sick of listening to podcasts and you just want the cheat sheets, I've got you covered. First link in the description, I have a free download for you. It is 9 tips, habits, strategies that I've learnt from over 250 episodes, hundreds of guests, doctors, athletes, coaches, authors, high performers, everybody. So I've taken all those learnings, 9 that you can start implementing super easy, free to download in the description. Let's get into this clip with Cam. How does that conversation go to get them to, not go all in and change everything? How do you sort of rein them in? Because again, entrepreneurs are very driven. They want to do things their way. And then it's like, well, hold on, like just back up a little bit. We just need to start with step 1. So how does that conversation normally go?
Yes, it's a great question again because with great difficulty, I would say. I think that the most important part is that person needs to be ready to make that change. Again, person I spoke to last week wasn't ready to make that change. He was on a mission to do it himself, and that's fine. But we probably both know that if you've got, we both used the word earlier, which I caught you saying, which is holistic, right? So people think that it's very, very simple to fix this health problem, but unless you're, quite young, got loads of time, got loads of time to research, loads of time to test and tweak things. If you're doing this at 50 and you're running a business and you've got a family to look after, the chances of you actually fixing all the problems you need to fix is pretty slim, right? So I think the person that's engaging with us as a coaching company or with someone like you, they need to be in a receptive mindset. So if they're not ready to have a conversation about it, they're not ready to be coached, it's a little bit of a waste of time. You can lead the horse to water, right? But you can't make it drink. So I think with what we do in our world, there's quite a small percentage of people that I talk to that we go, right, that person's ready to make changes. Because at the end of the day, if they are, a CEO or they're a very successful person, and I'm trying to negotiate or coax them into a new way of thinking, in their world, they're the top of the tree. So it's a little bit like, why should I listen to you? So I think having them in that position where they're ready to make the changes and ready to be coached is really important. And often what I find in my experience is that they get to that point 99% of the time when they've tried loads of stuff that hasn't worked. And then they've tried PT, they've tried crash dieting, they've tried fat freezing, all this different stuff, right? And none of it's worked. And they go, do you know what? Actually, maybe I should speak to someone that can help. So I think they've got to be in the right mindset. Otherwise, you kind of banging your head against a brick wall, right?
Yeah, definitely. So once they're in the right mindset, what's the go-to there? So talk me through, I guess, the client journey that you would walk somebody through.
Yeah, it's great kind of question on the next steps of how we do it. So, essentially, once we've got them into that position where they're in the right mindset and they're ready to make the changes, we take them through a process. So, generally speaking, we start with habits. Habits is where we start all of our clients with, because as you know yourself, right, the
Mm.
habits, the stuff you do every day, 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, they're the things that have the biggest impact. So with our clients, we build them out a customized habit list based on what they need to work on. To give you an example, let's say that one of our clients is a successful CEO and they wake up at 5 in the morning, they get on the early train, they get off the train the other side, they go straight into the coffee shop and they get a croissant and a big latte with sugar and milk and all this kind of stuff. And they jump in the cab and the cab takes them to the office. So obviously, that is not a great way to start the day. So we take that as a poor habit and we flip it. So it might be right. Okay, so you're going to get up early. That's fine. We can't change that. You get on the early train. That's fine. We can't change that. But instead of going into the coffee shop and having the latte and the croissant, let's go for a double espresso and a bottle of sparkling water. Okay.
Mm.
Rather than jumping in the cab to do a 3-minute journey, Let's just get you to walk it. So it's those small changes that start to, like when you invest money, right? It starts to compound over time. So we give our clients 16 weeks worth of runway as a standard. If you can do that most days in the week, that will start to have a positive change. That's one example. Another
Mm.
example might be that client is heavily under eating on protein. I'm not sure what it's like in Australia, but with regard to business owners, entrepreneurs in London, generally it's really high carb, high
Mm.
sugar diet. Everyone tells us we eat too much meat. I don't actually believe that. I think most of my clients eat cereal in the morning, croissant, then it's a sandwich and crisp. Like there's no protein in there as far as I can see. So we want to increase their protein. So one of their new habits might be eat protein with every meal. Really simple. So I think that the habits for us is a huge part of what makes the change over the time. We call it habit optimization. It's just the phrase that we use to change that. The next part is nutrition. So from a nutritional standpoint, we give them a simple framework of how to eat. So obviously, more nutrient dense foods, higher protein, get some good fats in there, increase their green vegetables generally if we can. And then once they've had that framework, we give them feedback on every meal they eat. So they send us images of each meal they eat, and we give them feedback on that meal. So it's
Mm.
kind of quite heavy duty in the world of the amount of feedback we give them. But these people are very busy. They're very, they're kind of doing stuff on the fly. So having that feedback is really helpful. The next part is training. Now, you and I both know that people say they train properly, but actually, when you watch what they're doing, they're not. Whether it's their form, whether it's the weights they're lifting, whether it's the intensity, the tempo, there's a lot of moving parts that can go wrong. And also, you know, people don't know what intensity is unless they've trained at
Mm.
intensity, as I'm sure you're aware, right? So training's a big part of it. One of the kind of the biggest pillars for us is sleep. We have to fix their sleep, have to improve that sleep. So give you an example, the kind of people we work with, highly caffeinated. So they're drinking coffee all through the day. Spoke to a guy 2 weeks ago that was drinking coffee at 6 p.m. and wondering why he wasn't sleeping. It's like, well, you're highly stimulated, man. You're not going to sleep that way. And then often what happens, because they're highly stimulated, their sleep falls out of kilter. Also, drinking alcohol regularly. A lot of our
Mm.
clients initially are drinking a lot of alcohol, whether it's networking events, whether it's client lunches, stuff like that, and they have no sleep hygiene. There's no structure to their sleep. So really start to focus on what can we do here. So two quick wins. Caffeine for sure is a quick win. Stop having caffeine. If you can stop having caffeine by midday, it's a great way to give yourself a chance to get out of your system. Alcohol, if you can reduce that as much as you can, that's going to have an impact on your sleep. The amount of people I've spoken to that think red wine is good for sleep. I couldn't tell you we're talking about hundreds, but it's an old wives' tale. Alcohol's not good for sleep, right?
Mm.
And having some structure around sleep. So some simple ones: no water, no drinks an hour before bed, so you don't have to get up and go to the toilet in the middle of the night. Try and get some reading done, bring the light down a little bit. And a massive one for our clients is no phones or iPads in bed, because they're doing emails at 9 p.m. Their brain's firing with blue light and they're going, right, I want to go to sleep now. It just doesn't work.
No.
And the last part is NEAT. So non-exercise thermogenesis, right? So movement is a big part of what we do. So the obvious one is steps, right? So getting to move more. So with the example I gave earlier, those little kind of moments in the day, go for the walk instead of grabbing the taxi. If you're having an internal meeting, stick your AirPods in, go for a walk around the park and do the internal meeting on your phone. Obviously, you can't do a client meeting like that, right?
Mm.
But what then happens when they follow those 5 pillars is that in the first fortnight, they start to see the changes that they want. So as you can see, there's more to that than eat less and move more, which is the generic advice that everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people pump out in our industry. It's more of a holistic approach. So unless that person's in that right mindset, they're just not going to do that work. They're going to struggle. So yeah,
Mm.
you understand the process.
Yeah, I love that. What you probably spoke for at least 10 minutes, and you didn't even mention working out, because the main thing, like the truth about fitness is it's everything else other than the workout. And that's what a lot of people get wrong. They're like, just jump straight in the workout, change nothing else. And instead of like you said, you're already doing these things. So why not optimize the things you're already doing, and you'll start to see results anyway. And the workouts are just something you add in when you can. If you enjoyed that clip from Cam, make sure you check out this episode right here. But like I said, if you are sick of listening to podcasts and you just want the cheat sheet from over 250 episodes, make sure you hit the link in the show notes, start implementing those, and you will start living a long, healthy, happy life. See you all in the next episode.